What's going on, everyone? It's Cummina here, and today I'm bringing you a new video on my build. And as you can see here, I'm running with the Strikers build with the Barrett's chest piece and the Savage glyphs. So keep watching the video to find out how I got my build. Okay, so first off, looking across the stats at the top, I've got 5,783 firearms, 4,733 stamina, and 3,993 electronics, which gives me the figures across the top of 302 DPS, 324k toughness, and 13k skill power. So if we do start off and looking at the gun that I'm using first, and it is the MP5 ST. Now it is a little bit low on the critical hit chance at 19.5% crit hit chance. It does come with 16.7k base damage based off my firearms, and on here I've got deadly, so critical hit damage is increased by 15%, responsive, so damage is increased by 10% when closer than 10 meters, and then competent, with the damage is increased again by 10% for 15 seconds after using a skill. Looking at the mods that I have put on this gun, I've got the Pro Red Dot sight here, which does come with 18% critical hit damage, 6% headshot damage, and 2.5% critical hit chance. I've then got the magazine on here, which does come with 16.5% magazine size, 3% critical hit chance, and 5.10% rate of fire. I have got then the small grip red, which does come with 18% critical hit damage, 2.5% stability, and 5% reload speed. And then just the tyrant suppressor here, 7.5% critical hit chance, 4% critical hit damage, and 6% headshot damage. Now, looking at this build, you know, with Striker is all about putting out the damage, and I'm running it purely with the SMG and trying to run it around that crit hit and crit damage and chance, just to help in terms of the build. Next up then, I have, yes, the infamous Tactical Sausage 12k. It has got 306% stagger, but I know there are better ones out there. This one does come with brutal, deadly, and competent in terms of its talents, but this is mainly if I just want to stack that striker damage up fairly quickly. But it is a secondary weapon, and the build is all around the SMG class, so I very rarely use this gun in this build. Next up now, we'll start on the chest piece. Now I am using here the Barrett's bulletproof vest. Now if you haven't been able to get the Barrett's chest piece at the moment, there are the ones out there that you consider. A rapid chest piece, you know, that does increase the cooldown on your healing skills. You could use a vigorous chest piece, or you could even use reckless if you wish. However, on this build I am using the Barrett's. Now no skills on cooldown do increase skill power by 10%. One skill on cooldown increases damage by 5%, and 2 skills on cooldown increases armor by 10%. It is a fairly low there if you look on the stamina side of it. I have rolled health, it's got exotic damage, resilience, and 47% ammo capacity. I've then got 2 firearms mods there, both with health, but there are better mods out there. I've just got this up just to try and keep that health above the 300k mark. Next up, we have the Striker's mask. So on here, it is rolled on electronics. It's got the maximum there is his major attribute at 4% critical hit chance, and unfortunately a minor attribute there is 12% increased kill XP, but you know, that's the mask that I've got at the moment, and if I do find one a lot better, then that's what I'll have on there. You can see on here then as well, I have got a firearms mod, which does give me a 3% skill haste. On here is the knee pads. Now these are rolled on stamina. It has got health already. It does come with burn resistance, blind death resistance, and 14% damage to elites on the knee pads. And the mods that I have put in here again are firearms health, and then I've got a 2% pulse critical hit chance as its prototype performance mod. Next up is the Striker's backpack. Now this is rolled on firearms at 1262. It has got the max on there at 9% critical hit damage, and then 50% ammo capacity. The mods then I run on here, an electronics mod at 3130 health, and then I've got a 2% pulse critical hit chance and a 6% first aid self heal. Onto the gloves, I'm running with the Savage gloves. Now these are a bit low on firearms, so I am looking for a better set. But if you do look at his major attributes, he's got 997 there out of 1001 in terms of SMG damage, 6% critical hit damage, and then 5% critical hit chance. As I've mentioned, you know, this build is all made around the SMG, so it is about getting that critical hit damage and the critical hit chance as much as you can in terms of this build. So it's really important that you are looking at those pieces that where you can, you are rolling the critical hit damage and the critical hit chance on those items. And then last up we have the Striker's holster. Now this rolls on firearms at 1238 and then a maximum there of 4% critical hit chance in terms of his build. And then again the prototype performance mod is 2% critical hit chance. But I would be looking to replace these prototype mods with a critical hit damage like I've got on here, or the critical hit chance instead of it being on the pulse. So once they do come around, I'll change that. But these are good in terms of the build at the moment if you are going to be running the pulse with it, which is what you should be doing in terms of the PvP aspect. Now, with regards to the Strikers build, as you can see here, it's 2 set bonus gives you 20% stability, set bonus 3 then gives you 10% enemy armor damage, and then set 4, which I'm sure that everyone knows by now, is that landing consecutive hits deals 1% more damage, and it stacks up to 100%, but missing a shot drops the bonus by 2% for every one, and the bonus then is reduced also by 1% every second, so it is really important that you are landing those shots very quickly, and that's where the shotgun comes into hand if you do need it at the start, just to get those Strikers marks bouncing up quickly so you can switch over to your SMG. Now if we just look over in terms of the stats and what I've got here in terms of getting the critical hit chance and critical hit damage. Now critical hit chance, the maximum on here I believe is 60% that you can get, so it's at 45.5% at the moment, but with a decent pulse or someone running in your team as a skill builds with a good pulse, then you can get that up. And then I got my critical hit damage there at 105%. If you look at the talents that I use, see I've got the Scrambler Pulse here, so that will add 15.8% critical hit chance and also 13.8% critical hit damage to what I've got already on top, so that does come in very handy. As you can see at the moment, if we just shoot with the SMG there, you can see the crit hit chances are hitting up with Strikers going. But if I do change that over and just add the pulse onto there, you can see that that damage does get a lot higher, and as the Strikers is building up to its 100%, you can see there the sort of crits that I'm doing to the head. And also as well then, if we look in terms of the body there, you can see those crit hit chances as well. So keeping that pulse up, and the Strikers, you can see the sort of damage that you're outputting there, which comes in very useful. That does also work as well then if you look at the shotgun. You can see there that keeping your Striker, because each pellet that does land does help towards the 100% that you want to get in terms of your Striker. So you can see that it there as well. Now if we move on to the talents that I am using on this build, Adrenaline and Triage are no way effective as what they used to be. Adrenaline now heals over 10 seconds, so it's not as good as it used to be. So I do run with critical save, so using a medkit at low health increases damage resistance by 20% for 10 seconds. Also as well then, Combat Medic is a great one to use, especially if you're running in with a team, because using a medkit within 20 meters of your team does help in terms of the heal. I then run with Steady Hands. Now a lot of people would ask why I use Steady Hands. There's not much recoil in terms of the SMGs, but I'll show you in a moment what I mean in terms of with the shotgun and how you can use that. So entering cover does reduce the recoil by 25% for 10 seconds, and then I've got on the move, so killing a hostile while moving reduces income damage by 15%. So if I do show you now what I mean in terms of the Steady Hands, so all you need to do is go into cover and you can see there down the bottom it has prompted, and you don't have to stay in coverage just initially, and that does help in terms of certain weapons. And then when you're popping the pulse as well, you can see there that that damage is stacking up very quickly and very nicely, so it does help you in those sorts of situations. So you know, this is a very good build in terms of the crit hit chance and the crit hit damage that I've used, and it's really thinking about the build that you've got. So Strikers is great in terms of the damage that it puts, and running that SMG as well and putting the build around it does help greatly. So if you can see there that my DPS is dropping, so if we just get that back up to its maximum, you can see there that it puts my DPS up to 601,000 at maximum. Now, it's not always going to be a chance that you are going to get that 100%, especially in PvP, but in PvP you possibly can, so it does come in handy. And this is a build that works for PvE and PvP. Now, I do hope that you enjoyed this video in terms of my striker build. There is more videos to come. I have a reclaimer and a tactician support build to show you. So yeah, thanks for watching, agents, and if you have any comments or recommendations about the builds or any questions, do leave a comment below and I'll sure to get back to you. Thanks for watching, agents, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.
Hostiles now control. We've got Bravo.